Marlon Humphrey, welcome. From Hoover to Alabama to Baltimore, doesn't sound like losing's in your DNA.
It's not a lot of my DNA. You're correct by that.
What was the experience like going from Hoover to the University of Alabama where everybody kind of already knew you?
It was good, going about 45 minutes down the road. It wasn't, not like I wasn't familiar with Alabama, the state. Wasn't familiar with that much with the university, but getting there and, attending school, it was great. A lot of people I kind of knew from my high school went there and surrounding high schools. So it was really good to be around people that were somewhat familiar with you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, does that kind of enhance the brotherhood aspect? Because 9 Alabama guys here at the Pro Bowl by my count, and there seems to be a special bond amongst you guys.
I think a very special bond. You go to Alabama, you know you're gonna be working, and you're gonna be working with your brothers, guys you're on the field with. So every time you see a Bama guy, it's all love. We all been through similar things, through the program. So it's a Bama connection that really never fades.
Was there any other school that had a chance to land in you? Was there any chance you were leaving the state?
Florida State was one of my top schools, and then last minute the coach left to go, but I think I was probably going to end up at Alabama no matter what.
And how long until you felt comfortable? Because cornerback is, you're on an island, and really your name only gets called when you screw up, so how long until you felt comfortable out there?
It took me a while to get comfortable. My freshman year I was redshirted, so I was guarding Amari Cooper just about every day. So it's going to take you a while to get comfortable, guard. That was the year he was up for the Heisman. So after that, that freshman year, that spring, I felt really comfortable that spring. Had a good spring game, and then I felt like I was ready to, play the next year.
And what does that do for your confidence going from college to the NFL, guarding guys like Amari Cooper day after day, tackling the running backs, that whole crop of Alabama running backs year after year?
You get to the league, you've seen some elite guys, but now I think the biggest difference is you can see a top 5 receiver for 5 weeks straight possible.
Right.
So it's like, in college you're like, okay, this guy has got, this guy's got, this guy's got.
Right.
But
I got week 2, week 8, and week 10, right.
Yeah, now it's like week 1 through 16, it's gonna be a guy and it's gonna be multiple guys, So that was the biggest thing is you gotta, get more on your iPad, more on your film, and, recover and everything just to be ready for the game.
From a standpoint, again, going back to playing the defensive back position, so much is about confidence. As a defensive coach will tell you, offenses practice too. They're gonna make their plays too. They ball out too. So maybe after a rough game, a rough practice, what would you do to get that confidence back?
Confidence for me, never really fades. You'd be naive to think I'm so good, I'm never gonna allow someone to make a play. They're in the NFL also, so you gotta know they're gonna make some plays. And whether it's a win or a loss, you try to set aside 24 hours, enjoy it, or feel like be down or whatever you may do. But for me, it's just that play's over with. So when it's over, and if you had a bad game, that game's over with. So you can't dwell on it too long because you got to get back to it. Long season, so what you got coming next.
Seems year after year there's a conversation of DBU, LSU versus Texas. I don't understand how Alabama isn't the clear winner in that conversation.
They never give us our respect. And we got a couple Pro Bowlers here in the secondary, and it's crazy. I mean, LSU they're up there.
Sure.
Like, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But Ohio State's up there too. But we're never even in the conversation. And
it's weird.
I don't understand it. But, I think after time, we keep putting out guys, it'll come full circle.
You had success very quickly going from college to the NFL. What qualities does it take as a young defensive back to find success quickly?
I think the biggest thing is keep doing what you're doing that got you there. You never really made it. And the only time you can say I made it is when you're done playing. Every year's a new year. The top quarterback is gonna have to be the top quarterback next year. The top corner is gonna have to be the next corner next year, and everybody starts at a clean slate. I see it as there's a lot of big names and things like that, but when I got into the league, a line up in front of AJ Green, I'm like, this is AJ Green, dude. And I'm like, I'm in the NFL just like him, So you can never see anybody as out of your league. You respect their game, but at the same time, you're in the NFL too. So you gotta treat every guy the same, and never go off just what their name is.
I don't know how much college football you watched this year, but this draft upcoming for defensive backs, especially corners, is as exciting as it gets. Anybody catch your eye?
Nobody specifically. You know, I know AJ Terrell from Clemson. I didn't watch too much crazy football. You know, watching Bama games. Bama LSU, a little disappointing. Bama Auburn, another disappointing. But I know there's a lot of good corners in this class. A lot of good safeties too. So I'm excited to see, you know, where they go, how many go in the first round. Those are all the things I usually look at.
And what's that first day of OTAs like, going from being the man in college, the high of the combine and the draft, and now you're hitting the reset button, starting all over?
It was the first time really, you know, playing in a while. And you realize your teammates and a lot of things, like a lot of the receivers, you don't really know their names. You know the top guys, but OTA, that's when the team's 90-man roster. So you're going up against guys you don't really know, and you're realizing, you know, all these guys can play. And that's how you realize how competitive it is in the NFL, because out of those 90 guys, only 53 are going to make it. So you realize right away, man, this guy's pretty good. This guy's pretty good. You don't know who's going to make the roster. And it was fun to, you know, be out there, you know, kind of play. Tempo's a lot slower. In college, you know, they got hurry up, no huddle, all that stuff.
Pads and more pads.
Ole Miss. Those games are not the funnest, but NFL, you know, it's going to be a lot slowed down. But guys are going to do things, you know, try to be as perfect as possible.
The college game is changing a lot. Teams are out there slinging it 50, 60, 70 times a game. If you were back then, would you do anything differently?
Only thing I was think to just recover more. You know, getting the cold tub more, getting the hot tub more, warming up for the game, and cool down. Mainly just recovering more and trying to eat a little better. That's probably the only thing I would do. That's one of the things I do in the league now. But there's really not much more I would change. I think, you know, bad mistakes and all things are things that make you turn into the man you are.
When you think back to your time at Alabama, what's the first image that comes to mind?
The national championship, Arizona. That was pretty cool experience. I just saw Deshaun Watson in the hallway. I think they ran like 90 plays against us. So that was not fun. All those plays. No huddle. I'm tired, and he's scrambling back there going crazy. But the national championship we won, you know, won one, lost one. The one we won is probably the first thing that comes to mind. It was, you go to Bama, you probably have a pretty good chance to win one eventually, but actually winning one was just a crazy feeling.
What was draft day like for you and your family?
It was super exciting. I didn't want to go to the draft. I wanted to, you know, be at home with family and immediate family, and it was just a special moment for me and my family to get drafted in the first round at that, and watching TV and get phone rings. It was crazy. It was,
I love asking guys this. When the phone rings, if you can remember on draft day, who's the first person you looked at and who's the first person you hugged?
We weren't really paying that much attention to the TV. The draft is long. It takes a long time for no reason, really, I feel like.
It could be a lot shorter.
After the first 10 picks, we're like, kind of excitement went down a little bit. Not that I thought it was going to go that high, it's just like, you can only stay excited for so long. And when it rang, I just remember grabbing the phone and immediately answering. I don't really remember looking, but I just remember everyone like, who is it? Who is it?
As if you're not in the middle of a conversation.
And so that was, I don't really remember who was the first person I hugged, but I just know it was a crazy feeling. And you know, when you get drafted, really your whole family gets drafted. You know, it's a moment for everyone that's there. That's the most special part about it. It's so it was just really joyful, and it was great. It was a great feeling.
DB is all about communication. Corners got to talk to safety. Sometimes you got to talk to linebackers as well. Rarely you got to talk to the D lineman, but it's all about communication. What can a young DB do to establish that?
If there's anything that I could change about going back to college, it would be to try to be more vocal on the field. Just talking, whether you're wrong, you're right. If you say something that's wrong, it'll trigger somebody else to know, no, that's not right. Or sometimes talking will help out the linebacker. That the linebacker might be lying to his stance, but he might be thinking the same thing. I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now. Or the safety's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And when you just say something, it'll trigger something for him. The biggest thing is just whether you think you're wrong or right, whether you think they already know what they're supposed to be doing, just try to talk as much as you can.
Going back to college ball, the landscape is a little different now with the transfer portal and sitting out bowl games. Do you see it as a lack of loyalty? Do you see it as guys doing what's best for them? What's your opinion?
Some people do what's best for them. I don't think you can ever really criticize too harshly on what someone else does. I think a transfer portal is very interesting. You can just get upset, be gone the next day. It's an interesting thing that, but I think in the end, guys should be able to control their own destiny, and if that's something they want to do, be able to do it. And as far as sitting out bowl games, if I set up this bowl game, will that hurt me? I don't think it will. If I go have 300 yards in this bowl game, will that really help me? I don't really think it makes that big of a difference. I think
one game isn't gonna affect the previous 100 you just played. Yeah.
I know scouts are watching film, already watched hours and hours of film. They're not really waiting around a month just to get this film to just add to it. It's more, if anything, I think playing bad will hurt you, if anything, as opposed to helping.
LSU has Go Tigers, A&M has Gig 'em. What does Roll Tide mean to you?
Roll Tide has a lot of meanings, I feel like. It can be a hey, it can be a bye. Like you can put it on, just tag it on anything. I feel like it's one of the few slogans that, if a fan sees you, they don't know like how to approach you. They just say Roll Tide, and you're gonna get a Roll Tide back. It's like you see somebody looking, and they just say Roll Tide, just like Roll Tide. So it's an easy conversation starter, and I think it's the best slogan in college sports.
You're in the NFL now, already a Pro Bowler. Congrats on that. But what are you gonna miss most about playing college football at Alabama?
I think the biggest thing is just the atmosphere of the stadium. I went back to a game and I'm sitting in there. I'm like, when I was watching Bama games as a kid, when my dad was taking me, they were playing these certain songs in the stadium. They were doing the same chants. When I was there at Bama, they're doing the same chants. I go back and it's like they're doing the same chants, and it's a lot of things that don't change because it's just so tradition based. You got you got the crimson jersey, and you got the white jersey. Always having the white pants. Certain things are just never going to change, and it's one thing that is things that you need in life, and that's consistency in what you do. And at Alabama, it's a lot of that.
You've been in a handful of NFL stadiums now. Do anything compare to Alabama at night?
Seattle. It's pretty loud in there, very crazy fans in there. That reminds me a little bit of college atmosphere, and I love away games. So when I was at Alabama, I didn't really soak it in crazy much. I do remember certain games that were just way louder than others. LSU game one year, but I love away games. So LSU was crazy. That was the one game. As far as like going back to NFL, Steelers and Seattle are probably the only two.
Steelers too, okay.
So that's our rivalry.
Right.
So I'm loving that. I'm really soaking up, looking into the stands, looking at their eyes, seeing what's going on, and those are probably the only two so far that have reminded me of like LSU, Bama type like atmosphere.
Tuscaloosa is a city that shuts down on game day. We hear stories hanging outside the hotel, people banging on the buses, getting you guys ready to go. Yep. Does your pregame routine differ, college versus now?
Nothing consistently that I do. I just get on the bus, have some headphones on. Half the time I'm not even listening to music. I just have them on. I feel like I'm one of the few guys that don't really. I gotta play this song before I go out there. I gotta do this. I'm not really in the locker room bobbing their head. I'm just sitting there looking at people bobbing their head. You got that one guy singing out loud to his song.
Always. There's always one. There's always one.
And it's a lot of guys got their things, but I'm just ready to play some ball.